Many people regard you as a personification of Ubuntu. What do you understand Ubuntu to be?
In the old days when we were young, a traveler through a country would stop at a village and he didn't have to ask for food or for water. Once he stops, the people give him food, entertain him. That is one aspect of Ubuntu, but it will have various aspects. Ubuntu does not mean that people should not enrich themselves. The question, therefore, is, are you going to do so in order to enable the community around you to be able to improve? These are the important things in life. And if one can do that, you have done something very important which will be appreciated.
This is the Open Source Report on the 17th of December 2017. A happy Hanukkah for those out there that are performing their Hanukkah duties, and a happy Christmas coming up for the people that are there. And for those of us that are secular, well, just happy holidays. We have something for everyone here at the Open Source Report from WBRNRadio in Boston and on the Boston Red Network. Earlier today, or last night actually, we did a special program on UFOs. And the Pentagon, the Department of Defense, has a special unit that is still looking into unidentified flying objects, as they now call it, basic aerospace vehicles. A lot of science there, folklore, everything involved there, all kinds of things going on. They've seen things in space. Many of those items have been attributed to secret projects of the Department of Defense itself. However, though, the program was established by the former leader of the Senate, Harry Reid from Nevada, and they have a company out of Nevada that is owned by a billionaire named Kilgore, and they are in that particular business, and they've raised over $2 million from various scientific type people. And they call their new venture, let me see if I can get it here. As I went through it last night, well, maybe we can't now. But anyway, nonetheless, it was a joint venture of a scientific community. They even have, here we go. If you look long enough, you'll find something. Anyway, it's called the Stars Academy of Arts and Sciences. Interesting. That you put together an academy of arts and sciences. Of course, those that in liberal arts understand that. But they have many facets to it. It's just not to break free of the bureaucracy and unlock the revolutionary innovation. Aerospace, engineering, science, fiction, technology. They're talking about some of the things that some of us have studied. Beamed energy, proportion, advanced electrogravity proportion there, science. And this is where the open source elements would come in: brain-computer interface, engineering, the space-time matrix, and consciousness. They call it a supporting transformative research. Kind of interesting here. And then they have entertainment, featured films, television series, publishing, live experiments. So they have it all here. Revolutionary is to the mind of a word. That's from Steve Justice. He is Director of Advanced Programming at Lockheed Martin. Sorry about that. Head of Aerospace and Technology at the Science Stars Academy. Let me get that right here. So this is a kind of an interesting venture here. It's got a little something for everyone. It has people from the intelligence community, an assistant secretary of defense for intelligence, the Lockheed Martin people involved in here. What they are investigating is unidentified aerial threats. They even have a geneticist here, a nuclear biologist, a storyteller. Well, they've got everything going on here. I think perhaps we should start to look at some of these things. They have science. It's just an example of the interdisciplinary actions. You're going to see more and more of this coming up. There's no doubt about that. The program we did was from the Pentagon's what they call mysterious UFO, unidentified flying objects, the money involved there, top secret program. Harry Reid insisted that it be that. And the New York Times brought it out to the pages. It's a recent story. Came out on the 16th of December, just yesterday. So we did that with our former broadcast partner, Jerry Pippin, the late Jerry Pippin, broadcast with us, or me with him, since 1998. He was a pioneer in what is now called Internet radio, working out of a radio station in a very red state of Oklahoma. Anyway, nonetheless, we worked together. We did election projections for his Pippin network. They had about 2.2 million people, and they scanned the globe. They had, 20 or 30 million people that at least the UFO division there from China. So it was all over the world. Anyway, nonetheless, we put this out here on iHeart, and you can hear it on China. But we'll go now to the open source report. The kernel, the stable kernel, is at 4.147. And release candidate 3 is out. That would be 4.15 of the kernels. So let's go down here and grab some of the information. We have some trends we've been doing here at the Open Source Report. We've been talking about Google and its efforts to provide wireless. Of course, Google's in the search business, and if you're in the search business, and generating ads, you have to get connectivity to people, and that is being done as an Android project. So we have an ongoing situation there, and we'll talk about Tangle. Google killed Tangle. I think we just start there, and we'll sort of move around here a little bit with this. Let me get the right pointer here. And this is the killed Tango. Augmented. It's augmented reality platform shifting to AR Core. Now, there are reasons for this. Google announced today it's shutting down its high-end smartphone augmented reality platform, Tangle, in order to focus on a more mass-market AR Core products. The company had already confirmed this much to us when they announced AR Core. That was in August. Now we have the official timeline of Tango's demise. This is on the 15th. I'm getting this incidentally from a TechCrunch here. Anyway, the support for Tango will cease in March. Thank you for the incredible community of developers who made such progress with Tango over the last 3 years, the company said in a tweet. We look forward to continuing the journey with AR Core. First introduced in 2014, Tango was a bit of a trailblazer in its own right, preceding Apple's AR kit with a phone and tablet-based mobile AR solution that relied on advanced camera technology to build 3D meshes of space in a manner similar to the way Microsoft's HoloLens functions, getting phone manufacturers to build this fairly expensive functionality in their products was a fool's errand for Google. which only succeeded in getting Tango's platform running on a few gimmicky devices over the course of 3 years. And this was the problem right there. The company seemed to have a hard to have its hands full this year by Apple with talk of a big game regarding its ARKit platform on OS 11, leaving Google to abandon the high cost of entry into the Android AR with an introduction of AR Core this past August. It's a crossover technology. It is not like Tango was there. The platform simplifies things. It's a bit, focusing on plane detection rather than building a 3D mesh of the space. This allows AR Core functions to run on popular phones like Galaxy 8 Pixel. That's the Google thing. Our goal with Tango was really to prove out our core technology. It showed the world that it's possible. That's from the Google AR VR boss, they call him, Clay Vover. Told in August, others have started to invest in smartphone AR. Our goal with Tango has always been to drive that capability in many devices as possible. A recognition. The shutdown is pretty logical. There's no sense in making a fractured development process for a platform like Android, well, no doubt the world's most popular platform. Low-cost stakes at this point. And unfortunately, Jesus Zoom for AR, which was released just months ago, and highlighted Tango as a hallmark feature of the device. And people that have that phone now, as they say, stranded out there. According to TechCrunch, this sucks for a handful of users who purchased the phones using this Zen for AR technology. And this is one of the problems, has been a problem in hardware development for a very, very long time. Intel has made many, many stabs at this over time, and the problem has been they have all of a sudden abandoned it and left people hanging. It's sort of like what happened to or happening to .NET. .NET is an orphan child now, and being in a .NET user group for many years, and all of a sudden it pretty much disappeared. It's still there, but again, with other technologies that are, as one would say, outstripped it in popularity. JavaScript, for instance, is a one that has pretty much killed them. I mean, while I'm at TechCrunch, let me just make sure that there's not something else we should be looking at here while we are messing around here with this. Sometimes you will miss something that goes in our core type of focus here, and I don't see anything now except at Uber. Well, Bitcoms. On our program here at WBRNRadio, under Numbers Man, we talked about Bitcom, at least Dr. Yellen in her last news conference talked about it, period. Now, this is actually federal prosecutors in Salt Lake City, of all places, looking to unload 513 Bitcoms seized as part of a drug case, worth about $500,000 when they were seized. Their worth is now ballooned to $8.4 million. So the U.S. Attorney's Office there is put in the requisite work to sell these. It doesn't matter. The feds are selling it now, while it's more than $17,000 per coin. So this is where Bitcom has moved up. Thus, if you have 8.4 million, will turn into 80 million before the case is finished. So in other words, you can see how Bitcoin is exploding. How many did they have? They had, they had 513. So they're putting that at when they were seized. I'm not sure. They don't have a date when they were seized. But anyway, this just gives you an idea of where the cryptocurrency is going. Let me just do this Australian broadcast. And this is kind of a interesting situation here. Exposed as sensitive data. ABC is the Australian broadcasting owned by the Australian government. Operates as similarly to BBC. This is at MacKeeper Security Research here. Let's see what we can say here. Nonetheless, these people penetrated the database. Now, there's a separate organization here also, ABC Commercial. It is a division of the Australian broadcast company that sells various things. That the site was hacked as a result of a breach. The details of 50,000 users have been leaked online. These details include usernames, email addresses, password hash, and other details. And it goes back to 2013, but the leak occurred just 1 week after Amazon introduced its new S3 encryption, and this is what they breached. Security features aimed at enhancing security options for users. Chrontech launched its S3 inspection tool a month ago to help its IT administrators to check the Amazon S3 brackets for security. It has been more than a year since Chrontech's security has started alerting businesses and communities of danger of having a public access to S3 repositories. And we'll put this up here. Census, the publicly accessed Amazon free buckets was indexed by Census, a public search engine. We'll have it here. This is a research tool. This is where the open source comes in to ask questions about the hosts and networks that compose the internet and identify during its regular security audit of misconfigured S3 environments. Several thousand emails, logs, etc. We already went through that. Were compromised, and we have immediately, sent notification emails to database owners. A little picture of it here. And let's see, what else do we have here? Security cannot be ignored anymore. This is from Bob Dacheco, the real data of users. And I think this is from I believe we had, wait a minute here. I thought here we go. Cybercriminal. This is a different one. This is by the same DeCheco in the state of California. Now, California's election database evidently was compromised in early December. Again, this is Chrontech. Security researchers discovered unprotected instances of MongoDB database. They're not even sure who this belonged to, but according to the LA Times, there's roughly 18.2 million registered voters. That was in 2016 in California. They haven't been able in this instance to figure out who was responsible for it, but what they do know, in January of 2017, 27,000, or roughly a quarter of the database was left open to the internet, were hit by ransomware characters. Here, the danger of the state's voter data leak, and in some cases, of course, security researchers are aware of the millions of California citizens that the data was not only publicly leaked online, but it also the cyber criminals stole it for ransom. So, and it involves a lot of things: zip codes, where people live, email addresses, phone numbers, a whole litany of things. Extracted data is most likely is the indication of where the database was compiled. It appears to have been created in May 13th of 2017. The purpose of a second, much larger collection named 22 gigabytes appeared to be the complete voter registration record. And the format there was registrant, county code, district, etc. And this is a massive amount of data. It just shows you how many records you could get into 22 gigabytes. Millions of records. Discovery highlights how simple human error of failing to enact the basic security measures. And this is usually what happens. These are just basic type of security measures, and they did not have it secured at all. They don't really know who put it up there, but nonetheless, if you use, and this is what we'll put up, this is about Census. Census is a search engine that enables researchers to ask questions about hosts and networks that compose the internet. Census collects data on hosts and websites through the daily using ZMap and ZGraph. Scans of IP4 address space, maintaining a database. In other words, interfaces, report builder, SQL engine, details of it in a research paper. You can look at all this later. But nonetheless, it started out at the University of Michigan, the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. That's the same place, Urbana-Champaign, the same place that Netscape was created, of all things. And, of course, Netscape turned in Andreessen sold it and made millions of dollars. Now he's in investor investments operation, I should say. And now we have Foxfire Mozilla, and that's what came out of Netscape. Remember when it first started out, it was the first search engine, something called Mosaic, for us old time has been around. Anyway, nonetheless, it was spinned off from the University of Michigan into an independent organization founded by several system members, Brian Kelly and so forth and so on. Anyway, there's a research paper. You can look all this up, and then you can actually use the database. We'll put that on. Now, we go rolling along here again. This is part of the Google. We've done various work on Google. It's wireless, it's balloons, various other schemes. But this is Alphabet X partners with an Indian telecom company to bring high-speed wireless to millions using a new technique called FSOC. The firm can improve connectivity in rural and remote areas. Alphabet, what they call this is free space optical communication wireless in India that is easy to deploy and can improve connectivity for many residents. The FSOC technology was developed as an offshoot of Project Loom, which beamed cell service down to Earth from specialized balloons. The X, the research division of Google's parent Alphabet, developed a high-speed wireless technology that makes it easier to connect millions of residents in rural areas. X will be partnering with Indian Telecom, AP State, Net Fiber for pilot the technology. There it was announced in a post. While there are currently more than 53 million people in Andhra Pradesh, It's the 8th largest state in India. Fewer than 20% have broadband access. The new wireless technology, dubbed free space optical communications, can offer easy to deploy option to quickly connect more residents as part of the state's EP fiber grid. Initiative aims to get 12 million households and thousands of businesses connected by 2019. And much like fiber optic cable, it relies on beams of light. Fiber optic cable, little cable that are glass, actually a glass type thing that these beams fly through it. Cut it and you got problems. Was developed as part of Project Loom, which uses specialized balloons to deliver cell service from high above the earth. And we have a Reuters post here. The boxes are wireless. They don't require intensive construction associated with fiber deployments. This means that they are much cheaper and faster to put up and can be picked up from 20 kilometers apart and get the signal out. That's according to the Reuters article. And no. Anyway, the partnership is there. We'll roll out 2,000 boxes to improve connectivity. The benefits consumers are fairly clear. Can provide much-needed infrastructure for remote work areas, and they could put this in the U.S. and elsewhere also. So this is part of our coverage on wireless, because you have to have internet connectivity to put out any kind of enterprise up that you communicate with the rest of the world. And it's particularly important for open source because you need to get to research papers and various projects that one can get. Let me just move on here with this. I'll try to move on with this. Okay. This is the post. Project Loom is a reality. We figured out how to send data reliably between balloons flying in the on the stratosphere winds. One solution first provided by sending a copy of the film Real Genius across more than 100 kilometers between balloons was a free space optical communications. So this is one of the things that they've been able to do. Team X conducts early free space tests somewhere. Today, the AP State FiberNet announced that they will be rolling out 1,000. We don't want to be redundant here, but this is a welcome conversation. So away they go with this. Anyway, let's move on here. Well, we never got to Microsoft from E.com, but this is from Tech Beacon. We go to them occasionally. How to choose open source versus commercial cloud management tools. There are many open source and commercial cloud management tools available. In fact, Oracle just bought one, a big one. Hey, how do you do it as an IT management professional? Decide. Well, here's how to get started. They tell you open source is an option, not a religion. No doubt about that. We're not getting into zealotry here. People like to get by with open source. They will likely also like the fact that they can have greater influence on the maturity of open source tools. Many companies' dedication to the open source is almost religious. This is understandable. Enterprise IT has been held hostage for years by these proprietary vendors. Not only are they proprietary, many times their solutions are behind. They're dictatorial and very, very costly. So IT is missing out on something when it chooses to go exclusively open source. Organizations have a religious commitment to open source risk, having the pendulum swing too far in that direction. Open source does not solve all problems. No one has said that. Back to the basis, the pursuit of cloud management. You have to always question who is writing this. Anyway, this is a Tech Beacon. Monitoring platforms provide very different kinds of capabilities. A good depiction of common patterns occurs. However, there is automation at this level, meaning that one example is the ability to automatically provision a virtual storage. Well, yeah, but you can build this in. Typically, cloud management systems let you look at the application, and this is what Oracle bought, automated mechanisms, either policy-based, rule-based, etc. So, anyway, open source, free with caveats. The upside is it's free. Well, yeah, a lot of things are free. But you don't need to go through hours and hours of meeting with vendors, no doubt, and many times, like with the FBI, I once spent $1 billion and got nothing. They're community-driven, which means there are many people working there. This is the open source way. And bugs and new features may take months and years to show up in code trees. This is largely due to the fact that volunteers make fixes or enhancements, not necessarily. Getting commercial stability and maturity, well, a lot of the projects, you have to understand that cloud, although it's been around for several years now, is still fairly new, and many times the commercial things are buggy. Bad commercial releases of cloud management tools can damage a vendor's reputation, no doubt about that, but if they're on government contracts, they can keep just reappearing again. Open source management tools, in contrast, make users agree to terms that essentially hold open providers harmless. Well, yes. Another pro with commercial tools is the level of support. But you can buy support for the others. In the commercial world, vendors support their own technologies. They try to. But you pay for that, no doubt. And the winner is, well, you need an accurate list of your own requirements. No doubt about that. You have to do that with a commercial vendor. Unfortunately, to make open source square pegs fit into round holes, many organizations minimize or overlook their requirements. Well, you should not do that. And it's possible that a commercial cloud management systems could actually end up costing half as much as an open source system when you consider all the hidden costs and outlines available. This is why in my practice I have many enterprise pivots from open source to commercial when the metrics become better known. That said, the best choice is not always commercial. There are many good reasons to go with open source clouds. Well, I would agree there. There are many. It would depend obviously on your needs. A nice picture of a boxer here. And I'm trying to figure out who wrote this. Oh, well, I don't know. Anyway. Sometimes trying to figure the author out. It's a little disguised. So, I guess sometimes we find out former bootmaster Dockendi, founder, is a CTO of Hacked Bitcom, a mining firm. Nice hash. Anyway, on the 6th of December this year, approximately $52 million worth of Bitcoins mysteriously disappeared from Nice Hash, a Slovenian company that let users sell their computing power to help them. I think we talked about this earlier. Well, we'll get into it in a minute here. We'll get into it with the Raspberry Pi, where you could experimentally build your own. Anyway, this is basically how this worked. Hash users has expressed a surprise to learn that the company's chief technology officer recently served several years in prison. Oh boy. Anyway, for creating and running Dockendi. Oh, Dockendi, I'm sorry. Anyway, it's just shows that sort of the Wild Wild West out there. And let's see, Butterfly Bot is is most commonly known to users as a plug-and-play malware strand that allows even the most novice. And this is one of the things I was talking with a fellow over at the university about this. Anyway, cyber criminals to set up a global operation capable of harvesting data from thousands of infected computers using an enslaved system for clipping attacks on the website. This Butterfly bot kit sold from anywhere from $500 to $2,000 prior to its initial his arrest in Slovenia. Anyway, these kinds of toolkits are out there. You can find them. This is Doherty, sold at a Butterfly, but the dozens of other members who used it for a variety of illicit purposes, from stealing of passwords, credit card numbers, etc. Microsoft Windows PCs were infected with the bot and would then spread them disease over the MSN instant messaging system. I don't get to use MSN much anymore. I hadn't heard of it in a while. But anyway, so this is a few years back, 2015. I guess the fellow went, as they say, up the river. Anyway, this is Cribs on security. Fine. And let's see if we can find the Raspberry Pi decoration we had. Maybe, okay. I have to change screens here. And this is from opensource.com. Find top 5 mining cryptocurrency building games with Python. So there's several of those out here. And we were looking at them, starting with an editor for Linux called Notepad QQ. Anyway, for people that have used Notepad Plus, you can use that on a Windows system. If you wanted something in Linux, you can get to it. And it is, in fact, this... it's a Linux text editor out here that you could use. There's VI, Emacs. There's others out there that can be used also. He said when he was a consultant working on Windows machines, that's when he would use Notepad++, which is obviously open sourced. Roop Holloway looked at it anyway. To be honest, I wanted a version of Notepad++ for Linux. For a while now, and this Notepad QQ is there. Getting the software, you can get the software. There's no big deal right there. I decided to use it to complete the job I needed, like writing and cobbling together scripts, etc. Compared to many popular text editors, Notepad QQ's set of features that seems a bit thin. Well, it does have a smart index feature. Excuse me. The latest version of what is 1.2.0 supports extensions. It features included the JavaScript package manager, and I could find beautiful JSON files there on syntax highlights. Anyway, a text editor would have. So some things here. Has a couple of useful features for editing text. The first is the ability to convert between upper and lowercase. That's interesting. So, some of the features and problems are there. Anyway, renaming files within the editor, customizing color schemes. Ultimately, it isn't a full feature Notepad Plus clone for Linux, but you could use it, I suppose, if you wanted to use it. I don't know, we threw it in here. I still use VI, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. Open source home automation tools. We spent some time there. Yeah, we'll go. And then we'll get to Raspberry Pi and etc. This is mining cryptocurrencies. Let's go. Let's do it first because this is on the last story we were talking about. This fellow in his toolkit where you actually would rent space, mining cryptocurrency with a Raspberry Pi. We'll put this one on. One of the more interesting and potentially disruptive technologies over the last few years, cryptocurrencies. In the early days, one could profit, and this is basically mining of some of the popular cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin using a home PC. But as the mining became more popular, thanks in part to dedicated mining software, China is one of the biggest producers, incidentally, of that. The algorithms that govern it have boosted computational complexity, making home computer mining often impractical, profitable, and environmentally unwise. The education purposes, students that can learn how to mine them, but the motivation thrill of potentially making big money is diminished. Plus, the minuscule earnings may not be enough to cover the transaction fees. For a PC needs to do the mining. At many schools, they don't have students. Anyway, mining with a Raspberry Pi. Alternatively, you can use the Pi. You can have their own computer for $35. The Pi there makes it energy efficient. Also, you can use. Many of the more popular cryptocurrencies use computerly intensive proof-of-work systems that enable them to mine fast. No doubt about that. That's why. One example is Storgy, which is a proof of tractability system. Anyway, I'm not sure about that one. Users rent out space and get paid monthly at Storj, I guess it's Storj, in Storj coins. Anyway, think of Storj as an open source, decentralized Amazon. It's free. Instead of paying a cloud computer to store files, it pays, and this is what we get to, decentralized Storj network, which is run by anyone mining a Storj. Storj calls this mining farming. More of a farmer's share and more available storage isn't the power off there. Available rather than CPU power, a Raspberry can be well suited for farming on Storj. Starting with Storj, farming, you use a traditional computer. We'll put this on. We'll go into this. But anyway, how do you get paid every month? A formatic payout is made through its public address, provided when running a farm client in the case. It farmed 50 gigs of my Raspberry Pi's 64 gig. Oh, I see. Micro SD card for a month and a half, and earned 20 Storj coins. That's about $16. One way to look at it is that my experiment paid for the micro SD card, and for about half of that. So in other words, it paid for itself. There, if you want to, do that. When he was a student, he was dealing with Apple II. That's a long time ago. Very long time ago. Let me just go to this Storj here quickly, because this was part of the early development story. This is distributed cloud storage. Token update there. Blockchain-based, end-to-end encrypted distributed object storage, where only you can access your data. Now, this blockchain comes in here. How it works, watch this simple 1 minute video. I don't know if we can get this going here or not. I really don't know. Perhaps. Anyway, we've been talking about blockchains many times in the popular medium, Meteor out here. I'm not sure if we can get anything on this going, but we'll see if we can get it going.
Imagine if the cloud wasn't up here, but down here, with us. That's storage. Storage is a cloud shared by the community. It's potentially the largest, cheapest, and most secure cloud available. What you share is what you get. You could even be paid by renting your extra space. But how is it more secure? Each file is shredded, encrypted, and spread across the network until you're ready to use it again. And you can be sure the files are safe because the keys are in your pocket, not a company's. Only you have access to your stuff. Because the network is shared, you don't have to worry about slow download speeds coming from one place. We're all helping to make the system blazing fast. And if you have some extra space lying around, you'll get paid by users who need more than they can share. It's like renting out your empty hard drives. A cloud with security, no downtime, and speed at a fraction of the cost.
That is Sergey, I suppose is how you pronounce it.
Imagine if the cloud wasn't up here, but down here, with us. That's storage. Storage is a cloud shared by the community.
Storage is how they pronounce it. I pronounced it Storge. It's, what is it? The S-T-O-R-J. Well, anyway. Up to them how they pronounce their own name and how the pricing goes. I guess we'll take a look at that. Per gig per month, 0.051, and the bandwidth is 0.05 per download. Anyway, compare storage prices via Amazon Free or Microsoft Azure. This is one of them. Let's see, what do they have? They have 0.015, and Amazon is 0.035 gig a month, and Amazon is 0.030 per month. So anyways, this is their little scheme here. This is a little bit different kind of system. Now, if you're using the Raspberry Pi, it's a different type of, totally different type of system, period there. But you can use these interactive chat. Well, anyway, this is. You can also get paid for the thing, and this is something that wasn't very clear here. This is their pricing, storage, as they call themselves, the cloud, the community, the developers, Indian encryptation here, and free and open source. Now, we're passionate about it. Our mission is to rethink the cloud to provide security, and it is free and is open source software. The power of storage, the platform is unique, and these are various people that are speaking to it. And not certain, it doesn't say about how you get paid, it's about how you pay them. But anyway, okay, just a minute here. Rent your drive. Go back over here. This is what we were talking about over there. Rent your drive out, and you can do that. You can add your drive and be the cloud. A one-click start, open source. Sergey is shared. It's open source. It's free. We'll put a link to it. It's the easiest way of doing it. Anyway, back to where we were. Home automation. Internet of Things. There's several kits here for doing it. We'll just look at Home Assistant because this is under the MIT license. It's running a little late here. It's source that can be downloaded at GitHub, where many things are. Anyway, nonetheless, introducing Home Assistant Cloud. You can have the cloud also if you want it. It uses turn your Raspberry Pi into an ultimate automated hub. And let me just get this. This will be our last story here, I think. It control all your devices. That's what usually these things do. And you can download this. And some of the devices you can use the Google. Anyway, the cloud and let me see. Get started here. We'll do the cloud here, and we'll go back in just a minute. We introduced the next step, Home Assistant stage, the Home Assistant Cloud. The goal of the Home Assistant Cloud is to bridge gaps between your local Home Assistant instance and a service in the cloud. And this is where the full service is supported via Home Assistant Cloud is the Amazon Alexa. And Smart Home Skills, it's integrated there. So your Home Assistant via the Amazon Alexa system. Oh, I see. This is a speaker system. Incidentally, you can find us, the open source report, on this system by just speaking into the speaker, and saying open source report. It turns on the kitchen lights. Your local Home Assistant will turn on the lights because Alexa, why did I call it Alex? Alexa. Anyway, Alexa speaks to the Home Assistant. It doesn't matter what kind of lights they are. You can use IKEA's lights, a 10-year-old X 10 switch, or whatever you make yourself. So in other words, you can make everything up here. So this is part of it. This Home Assistant Cloud will be free to use. We're currently planning the beta. Now, the beta will be out on March the 1st. And they have a support package for $5 a month. Subscribing to the community support. We'll put a link up here to this particular setup. Alexa, anyway, it's a Home Assistant here. Kind of interesting here. Getting started. I think somewhere it has the components here. The Raspberry Pi. Yeah, you need a Raspberry Pi free Model B, a power supply, at least 2.1. You need this micro SD card, 32 or bigger there. SD card really part of most laptops available in standard USB stacks. In other words, this is it. And you can download the Haas I/O image for the Raspberry free, and download Etch to write the image to the card, and the Visual Studio Code, and basically put the SD card in your card reader, open Etcher, and etc., etc. We'll put this up there, but anyway, you can be going here, and you can be in the clouds by Alexa. That is Amazon's system. These are some of the open automation tools. Now, there are various different ones out there. There's one, CalaOS is out there also. Now, that is under version free of the GPL license. It's on GitHub too. It's a full stack automation platform that includes a server, touchscreen interface, web native mobile application for that's for iOS, Android, pre-configured Linux operating system to run underneath. It's from a French company, but they have translated it out there. So we'll just put these up. There's one called Open. Open Home Automation Bus. is one of the best-known automation tools amongst open source enthusiasts with a large user community. It's written in Java. And let's see, what else does it do? It also uses a Raspberry Pi. It ships. You can control it using your using your Android device, or you can use a ISO device for the Apple people. You can create your own UI for your home system. So it has a number of things here. Nonetheless, we'll put this up here. And wanted to, as we close out here, the company that Oracle bought is one of the proprietary management tools for the cloud applications. It's an Australian company. Aconnect is the name of it. They bought it for $1.5 billion. Aconnect, we looked them up. It's specialized in web-based project management software that allows input from different teams. Its technology has been used on global projects, basically including the Panama Canal. So it's a big situation on the Australian stock market. Let's see, $7.80. Anyway, there was a premium to it, and we'll see. The founders there, Lee Jasper and Rob Philpott, who both have holdings of over 5%. Anyway, they didn't talk about it, but the payday is coming. Looked at it there. It was impressing proprietary system. Aconnect, which focuses on construction projects, said it would be liable to pay 1% of deal equity value as a breakup fee. Anyway, post-transaction, one of two U.S.-Australian deals unveiled on Monday with central provider. What they received anyway, an Australian dollar is equal to 1.3074 Australian dollar, U.S. dollar, I'm sorry. Anyway, this is one of those. This is a little different kind of management tool out there. So we've covered Google and their wireless efforts. Google and they're moving from Tango to another APR platform. It just shows you that major companies like Alphabet can move developers that are on those platforms. The stranded, you think of them, and they have to go to something else. It's sort of like what happened, let's see, as Android, let's see, who were they? I almost forgot who they were. It's been so long. They disappeared from the horizon very, very quickly. It was, who were they? Anyway, I can't even think of who they were right now, but they migrated over. I had a friend that was developing on that platform, and then they migrated over to Android. He did, actually, and some iOS. Oh, Flash. Flash was big at one time, but Flash flashed. So no one is, you still see Flash out there, but occasionally Adobe, the upgrade there. But the Flash people, it was on mobile phones. They got rid of it, so no Flash developers out there is one of the things that can happen, sort of like the .NET people. There's still some people doing a little bit of .NET, but Microsoft has moved beyond that to more open source. In fact, when Amazon went to Azure, the cloud, they were forced to move somewhat from their proprietary stance to more of an open source stance. Their cloud now, you can run Linux instances there via, I believe, containers, and they do have support for Linux, or at least it will be coming in the Amazon cloud, because the cloud is a Linux cloud. That is how it is set up. So I think we've covered most of the things. We try to do an open source report speak to security issues which are wider than just, say, the Linux world. They involve, we use Mr. Cribbs for that. But a lot of hacking out there, these toolkits or bot kits you can buy. That fellow was, 2015. That's like being 20 years ago. But they're being made every day, and people know on the dark web they can go pick these kits up. And you don't have to be a programmer or a hacker. Easy instructions there. Take your chances. If, as they say, the Hoover boys come knocking on your door, well, they'll come knocking on your door. I don't advise people to do that, but they're out there. But the one for research there, I would advise people to look there. We'll link these, incidentally, to the Open Source Report. This has been the Open Source Report on the 17th of December, 2017, from WBRNRadio in Boston. Hopefully, we did inform you that at least the Raspberry Pi, some of those little kits. We also encourage people to tune in to Dave Jones. He's out of Sydney, Australia. His EV Electronic Engineers blog, we'll link to it. Has a lot of nice projects there, from Raspberry Pi to other kinds of complements that you can get, little, especially Guino toolkits, etc. Very, very good. And how to put together a standard electronics lab, a laboratory, and what meters to use, what meters not to use. Now, if you're not into that, at least if you're into Raspberry Pi, you can look at Raspberry Pi. He does a lot of work on Raspberry Pi 3 and with the Arduinos that go with it. Full feature.